Good day everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Cikgu Darrel, and today we shall continue on Unit 1 Towns and Cities, Lesson 5, which will be on page 17 of your student's book. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to compare things using comparative adjective. I bet you might question, what are comparative adjectives? Comparative adjectives are words used to describe and compare between two nouns at the same time. Describe in BM means menyifatkan, and compare in BM means membandingkan. These comparative adjectives are divided into 6 types. What are these 6 types? The first one is added with R. Second one is added with ER. Third one added with IER, followed by added with consonant ER, added more without modifying the original spelling of the adjective, and last but not least, irregular. Irregular comparative adjective means that when the adjective itself is transformed into comparative adjective, the spelling of the comparative adjective is totally different with the original adjective itself. Before we begin our lesson into more thorough and detailed discussion, let us have a look first at this video so that it will be easier for you to understand the lesson after this. Are you ready? Let's start.
You're faster than me at juggling.
Yes, I'm faster than you. And I'm better than you at tricks.
Yes, but I'm more surprising than you.
Fast. Faster. Small. Smaller. Big. Bigger. High. Higher. Big. Bigger. Safe. Safer. Noisy. Noisier. Exciting. More exciting. Dangerous. More dangerous. Good. Better. Bad. Worse.
So, as what you can see from the examples given in the video, these are the 6 types of comparative adjective that I mentioned earlier before we watched the video. What do the ER, consonant ER, IER, more and also irregular comparative adjective means? They actually share the same meaning. It is just that the format of writing each comparative adjective is different. In BM, all this, it means lebih. We use lebih when we want to do perbandingan or comparison in English. Therefore, in this lesson today, I'm going to explain to you first how can we actually determine the spelling of the comparative adjective itself by determining the characteristic of the original spelling of that particular adjective. We start with R first. Now, what kind of adjective should be added with R when it is converted into comparative adjective? Remember, Most of the adjectives that end with E in the spelling, we will have to add R when they are transformed into comparative adjective. For example, safe ends with E. When it is converted into comparative adjective, it becomes safer. Same goes to large becomes larger, nice becomes nicer, simple becomes simpler. I wouldn't say all the adjectives that end with E has to add R when it is converted into comparative adjective. However, most of the adjectives that end with E have to add R when they are converted into comparative adjective. I wouldn't say my lesson is 100% correct, but at least to some extent, it will better your understanding a bit. Next is ER. What kind of adjective should we use ER when it is transformed into comparative adjective? Any word, doesn't matter that is in single syllable or double syllable, as long as it doesn't end with letter E or letter Y. Example, smart. Smart neither end with E nor Y. Hence, when it is converted into comparative adjective, it is spelled as smarter. We only have to add ER at the back. A few more examples are cold, colder, clever, cleverer, stupid, stupider. Next, IER. IER is pretty simple. As long as the adjective itself ends with a letter Y, most of the time we will always remove the Y and replace it with IER. For example, ugly. Ugly ends with Y, but when it is converted into comparative adjective, we kick out Y and add in IER. Another few more examples are pretty becomes prettier, there's no more Y. Noisy becomes noisier. Happy becomes happier. Next, consonant plus ER. What does consonant mean? In English alphabet, there are 26 letters. Except A, E, I, O, U, the rest of the letters are consonant. This is the meaning of consonant. Now, consonant ER, say, big. When it is converted into comparative form, it becomes bigger. Why? Because we have to add another G, then we put ER. That is why I call it as consonant plus ER. How can we know if we need to use consonant plus ER? We just have to look at the adjective itself. If the adjective itself is a single syllable and it ended with a consonant, at the same time, the second last letter is a vowel, then automatically we have to put another consonant with ER when we change them into comparative adjective. Next, thin. Thin has the same characteristic. You see, it ends with the word N. So N is a consonant. And the second last letter is I. I is a vowel. So when we change into comparative adjective, it becomes thinner. There are two N. Next, fat becomes fatter. Hot becomes hotter. You see, each of these adjectives here, it ended with consonant. But the second last letter is a vowel. Vowels are A, E, I, O, U. Next is the comparative adjective that uses more. How do we know if the particular comparative adjective needs to use more? I did some research on Google and there are some people say that if there is an adjective which has 3 syllables or more, then when they are changed into comparative form, we have to use more. I wouldn't agree so because in here, I'm going to give you some examples, but they have only 2 syllables, but still we have to use more when they are converted into comparative adjective. So I'm going to give you the examples first, and after that, I will explain why is that so. The first example is comfortable. When it's converted into comparative adjective, it becomes more comfortable. Expensive becomes more expensive. Handsome becomes more handsome. You see, handsome is a 2-syllable word. Boring is a 2-syllable word, but it becomes more boring. Well, Maybe I shall explain it like this. If the adjective itself, you want to know if it is suitable to be used more as comparative adjective, maybe we can use the method of kaedah cuba jaya, which means you use the rest of the 5 types of comparative adjective that I mentioned earlier, and you try to question yourself, does that sound suitable? For example, comfortable, if we put R at the back, comfortabler, does that sound right? If we put IER at the back, comfortablier, does that sound right to you? No, right? So the more suitable would be using more. This is how I always tell myself when it comes to determining the comparative adjective. Another example would be handsome. Would you say a person who is more handsome, we describe it as handsomer or handsomer? So it doesn't sound really right. So next time when you are trying to do comparative adjective, maybe you can try this method to question yourself first by adding in other types of format into the comparative adjective, and you determine whether it sounds right to you or not. This is how I tell myself most of the time. Next, irregular. Irregular is the original spelling is totally different with the spelling of the adjective when it is converted into comparative form. For example, good, when it is converted into comparative, becomes better. It's not gooder, it's not goodier. Next, bad. Bad becomes worse. It's not better, it's not baddier. Alright? It's worse. The spelling of the comparative form is totally different with the original spelling of the adjective. The last example would be far becomes further. It's not farer, it's not further, it's not consonant plus ed. So here it's further. The examples for irregular comparative adjective are quite limited, as they are only limited to 4 or 5 types of example. I don't want to confuse you, that is why I only came up with these 3 examples that are included in your student's book as well. So these are the characteristics of comparative adjective. Now I'm going to guide you on how do we compare the nouns using comparative adjective. What is the thing that we should do? We need to remember one keyword, which is to use the word dan. Dan in Bing M means berbanding. So let's try some examples. This is a village. Another one is a town. The adjective that I want to use is safer. So which one do you think is safer? Of course, village, right? So when I want to write a sentence, we have to put in the keyword than. Where do we put the word than? Example, living in the village is safer than in the town. Next example, bus and motorbike. The adjective that I'm going to use is slower. So which one is slower? Of course, the bus. So the answer here is bus is slower than motorbike. Next example, pizza and burger. My adjective would be bigger. So which one do you think is bigger? Pizza is bigger than burger. Next example, city and village. Which one do you think is noisier? Living in the city is noisier than in the village. Next, iPhone and Nokia. Obviously, the comparative adjective that I want to use is more expensive. Which one is more expensive? iPhone is more expensive than Nokia 3310. Next, classroom learning and online learning. The adjective that I'm going to use is better. Which one is better? Classroom learning is better than online learning because you can learn face-to-face from your teacher. Alright, so that's the end of our lesson today. This is a QR code and also the link for you to do the Google Form exercise. And if you're a teacher and you would like to make a copy of this Google Form exercise, feel free to just scan the QR code, or I have also uploaded an alternate link in the video description so that you can just feel free to make a copy for your students to do the Google Form exercise. As usual, don't forget to visit my Facebook page and like my page if possible, as well as subscribe my YouTube channel. Don't forget to press the bell right beside the subscribe button so that you will always get notified with my first-hand video every time I update my playlist. With that, I would like to thank you for watching and I shall see you at the next lesson. Bye!